Hey, it's that time again. Time for another in real life video. This week, I figured we would probably talk about ads or ad placement and just generally sort of my my own personal ethics on ads on the channel. Now, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of things that I can't specifically talk about without breaking YouTube terms of service or something like that. We're going to try to skirt around that in ways that, if you've already looked into this, probably a lot of this is what you've heard before, and you'll know what to expect. I figured this would be relevant, being as we've put out recently, thanks to Starfield, we've put out a few fairly long videos. Not the longest that we've ever put out before, but quite a few longer length ones. I think there's still a few, or at least one more pretty long length one in the hopper that's going to come out eventually. Now, before we get started, of course, this is entirely personal, right? Different people will have different ways of running their channel and whatnot and doing as they see fit. Everybody has their own reasons and stuff for doing it. These are just mine. There's no sort of ill will toward anybody who runs theirs differently. Anyway, my own sort of stance on ads and whatnot, and it's been this way since the very beginning. I've been lucky enough to have this sort of stance on ads and been able to keep to it the entire time. And I feel like it's a pretty fair way of doing it. So for those of you who don't know, when it comes to ads on videos, the channel cannot decide specifically what ad plays, right? But you can decide when those ads play, if they do, right? Sometimes they won't play because an advertiser hasn't bought that spot. For advertisers, my understanding is that it's a very, like, they sort of auction off time, so to speak, or advertising spots. That's my rough and loose understanding of it. Take it with a grain of salt, right? The channel decides where in the video the ads go. You can choose at the beginning, at the end. You need a certain amount of time in the video in order to have a ad play in the middle. You can decide exactly where in the middle of the video those ads play, and you can sort of decide what types of ads you can play. Now, it is worth mentioning, and this is part of the reason why I wanted to bring this up now, because they are in some way streamlining this process where you pick what type of ad goes on the video. And I don't think most people yet know the breadth of that situation. At least for my channel, I'm assuming it won't have very much impact whatsoever. But you can decide, like, oh, is it one of the ones that appears at the bottom, like, third of the screen or whatever? Is it one of the ones that appears, like, on the side of the video in, like, if you're watching on desktop? Is it a skippable ad? Is it one that plays for 30 seconds. Well, these are considered, like, is it one that can play for, like, I forget how long it is. They can run for minutes, right? Or even an hour. But if they are that long, they are required after so many seconds to be skippable. The unskippable ones, I believe, are capped at like 20 or less seconds or something like that. And generally speaking, they tend to go a lot shorter than that because it just annoys people otherwise, right? I think it's way shorter than that. It may be 10 or 15 seconds that unskippable ones are capped at. I forget. Like I said, take it with a grain of salt. I don't have the numbers right in front of me. Anyway, you decide sort of for the entire video what ads you're interested in playing, and also if you decide to make a video for kids, you're required by law to say, this is a video that I've intentionally made for children, right? And this is probably another topic for another video. If you have designated that your video is for kids, then it will, of course, limit what types of ads play on it, right? So you won't get more, like, mature or adult themed, not necessarily like there's the sorts of ads that play on like porn sites or whatever, but you won't get more adult centered ads or anything like that playing on videos intended for kids. In fact, you'll get more kid-centric ads that do have to face some degree of regulation, as far as I know. As for myself, as for this channel, we sort of have two rules. So whenever it came to guides, and if ever I do guides again, the fast, simple rule of that is no matter the length of the guide, no matter what was inside of it, I always had ads running at the beginning and at the end of the video. That's because I just didn't see the point in having them in the middle. That felt counterintuitive to the viewer experience. If you popped open a video guide and you wanted to see something in the middle of that guide, right? It would just suck if you ran into another ad right in the middle of the video when you would just watch the opening one, right? It doesn't make much sense to me. So rather, just keep it simple. Most people are understanding, I feel, of just having one at the start and one at the end. And most people, like I said with guides, you don't even get to the one at the end. In fact, that's generally the case for most videos, right? Most videos, people don't get to the one at the end. Very rare, unless you're just like skimming through a playlist, letting it autoplay. Now, for pretty much every other video on the channel, which predominantly is the playthrough videos, my rule was fairly simple. Like I said, it's the same exact thing that's always been. Have an ad placement at the beginning, one at the end, and then in the middle, I'll always include one per 30 minutes, right? And for those who have watched for a long time will know that predominantly I try to aim, and obviously this has not been the case with Starfield because I've just been sucked into it way too much, and you just go over sometimes. But predominantly I try to have videos begin and end around the 50-minute mark. And that allows for some leeway because I know that once I see that 50 minutes has elapsed or whatever, I know like I need to start wrapping it up. And sometimes you go over, sometimes you go a little bit under, it's whatever. But my general rule of thumb has always been, for every chunk of 30 minutes within a playthrough video, there will be one ad somewhere in the middle, right? So for example, a 50-minute playthrough video would have inside of it one mid-video ad. If it goes over an hour, then there will be two, because there would be two chunks of 30 minutes. Or for example, recently there's been Starfield videos that have reached 2 hours. So in the middle there, for every chunk of 30 minutes, there will be, roughly evenly spaced out, there will be an ad break somewhere in there for every chunk of 30. So like I said, a 2-hour video would have 4 ad breaks somewhere in the middle, right? And typically that would be, I usually try to run the first one somewhere around like the 15 to 25 minute mark. And then from there out, kind of space them roughly half an hour each. Now, YouTube will also suggest, if you let your video sort of up for a while and you ask it to do as much, it will try to predict ideal spots to run ads. And if you do that, it will just set you up with like loads of ads, right? And this is, you'll notice, if ever I've been hit with not a copyright strike, because that's something really bad, but just a copyright claim, because there's like a sound or a song that is licensed by some other company, or there's just some weird shenanigans going on. Probably 2/3 of the time, whoever owns the license to that song gets to choose the advertising, and they take a massive chunk of anything generated from that advertising. And typically when that happens, they choose to opt for YouTube's auto-placed ads, which means that there ends up being a ton of ads all over that video, right? Very typically is the case. Not always, if it gets claimed in that way. Like I said, huge difference between claims and strikes. Probably something that we should get into in a future video. Now, also, I almost forgot, when we were talking about types of ads, this is very relevant. They introduced this new thing where sometimes you will get 2 video ads back to back, right? And that counts for one ad placement spot. I believe you can turn those off, but as I said, I really do not mess with it at all. I just sort of toggle them all on personally, because I tend to feel like I have enough leeway since I'm fairly conservative with my ad placement, right? We're not placing like 3 ad breaks within a single 50 or 1 hour minute video or 1 hour video. More recently is the ad situation with shorts which is fairly new. And as far as I know, YouTube actually has probably the better situation for running ads, at least on the creator side, relative to other platforms like Instagram Reels, TikToks, stuff like that. As far as I know, YouTube has probably the most creator-friendly system of that, and they can kind of afford to get away with it because they're already the proverbial elephant in the room. That I'm a lot more murky on. As far as I know, if/whenever they do play ads, it's like one roughly every 10 to 20 shorts, I think. Whatever is made from that is then spread out, right? They use their sort of analytics system to spread that out to a whole bunch of different people. So it ends up like you get quite a significant, like a very, very significant, significantly lower amount from shorts. It's a lot better than it used to be when it started, which was practically nothing. But it is significantly less than an actual full-on video. And because of the nature of that, of how it works with shorts, it playing an ad every so often, as far as I know, creators don't get any say on when those play. Now, another situation for new channels, newer folks who haven't yet fully reached certain thresholds to unlock different features and like monetization options for their channel. YouTube, for the most part, has complete control over whatever is going on with ads in your video, right? And to sort of, I don't know, make matters worse, they get everything from it, right? So if you don't yet meet the threshold, like, for example, if you're watching a channel that doesn't have the required sort of viewership watch time and the required sub count, then they effectively get little to no control over ads in their videos, and they don't get anything from what ads you may or may not see during their videos, right? I do think that there is a way in which you can turn that off, but my understanding is that folks have had some issues with that, so I'm not sure what's up with that, if that's just user error or if that's something a little fishy going on the back end. I don't know. Anyway, that's pretty much it for me. Like I said, for more mechanically focused videos that I anticipate people will scrub through, we try to keep it just ad break at the beginning, ad break at the end. And then for longer videos like playthroughs, every chunk of 30 minutes, there's an ad that plays in there somewhere. Usually it's whenever there's like a fade to black, a load screen, something like that. Or if I have the opportunity, if I'm not uploading the video immediately and then immediately going to publish it after it's done processing on YouTube's end. If I have the luxury to do so, I will opt for YouTube's sort of autoplay situation. I'll just cross out and delete a lot of their autoplays just so that way it keeps in line with my own personal rule. But yeah, that's pretty much how it goes for this. And obviously there are instances where you might not see ads on videos. Like I said, it's sort of an auction system, is my understanding. And also there's other situations like if you happen to have YouTube Premium, right? Among other things. Like I said, that's pretty much how I do things here. No interest in besmirching how other folks do theirs. As I said, every situation, every channel is different. Folks see how they should run it. And generally speaking, their own viewership responds in kind. So, if you run too many ads on your videos and you upset your own viewership, they're gonna say it and they're gonna eventually, up and leave or complain, right? Depends on what you're putting out there. Some folks maybe can get away with it if they're putting out something that no one else really is. In the case of a playthrough Let's Play channel, you gotta accept facts, or dime a dozen, baby. But that'll do it for me. Until next time, please take care of each other.